Hello, people of the internet. Also the Freedom Stores are once again here with another video. This time again shooting it from my car or recording it from my car. And I'm not driving. It's become to a full stop. Let's put it that way. No safety issues here. But I want to talk about another topic that's been on my mind. It's quite important. And in this time, there's no astrology, if any, here. Maybe a little bit, but we're going to talk about making big decisions, and I'm going to use two real life examples of these decisions and why this is important and how you can maybe navigate these big decisions a little bit better, and even why it's so hard to make sometimes big, important, life-changing decisions, and what's underneath it all. So I'm going to use two different examples. I'm going to start with sobriety. So one of the things in our modern current society is very, very common is like, having drinks, drinking alcohol, maybe even going to a lot of parties, consuming alcohol is quite a prevalent topic still. And it's kind of considered one of the things we do and kind of how we socialize, etc., etc. So, but in a lot of time, for a lot of people, alcohol doesn't really or isn't really good, and there can be addiction, and for let's say many, it's even better. We can say that it's even better to kind of stop drinking alcohol altogether. So that was one of the things I did for I think almost 7 years ago. Was I made that decision of like, I'm not going to drink anymore, and I don't want to drink anymore. I don't like how it makes me feel, how it makes me think, how it makes me do things, and what kind of situations it puts me in. So I had to make that decision. But I want to talk about that specific decision, and it can be done and used. This process, it can be used with a lot of things, addiction related. But for me, one of the important things there was why I couldn't make that decision before, was fear. So I'm going to explain this a little bit more. So whenever you make that decision, there's going to be changes in your reality. So a lot of the people, a lot of the social groups you used to hang out with or go to these parties or do things together with, these are going to fall away. And subconsciously, sometimes consciously, we know that. And we don't, as humans, we don't want to lose people in our lives, even if they maybe aren't all that good for us. Still, that's what we know. Our need for a sense of belonging is so strong that even when the people aren't that good, we still want to belong. We want to be in social situations. We don't want to be alone necessarily. And one of the reasons why it's so hard to make that decision, even if it's good for us, is the same kind of emotional attachment to those people, to those situations. We have that kind of emotional safety. So this is one of the reasons why it makes it so hard to make that big decision. And I had to really, go deep down, like think what is good for me, what is good for my health, what is, how I want to interact with the world, how I want to interact with my business, what do I want to create, what do I want to make in the world. And it became really clear that, alcohol wasn't really doing anything good for me. And I also, in that moment, had to really realize that if I'm going to make this decision, even talking to my mentors and talking to my therapist, it was like very clear that I need to understand that some people, some humans are going to fall away, and I'm not going to be interacting with them anymore. It's just kind of part of the deal. And when you prepare yourself emotionally for that, and when you prepare yourself emotionally for those situations, it's kind of like it's easier to make those big things and big decisions, because it's not, you're kind of looking the fear into its eyes, so there's no kind of weird, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, I'm going to be alone. You're kind of accepting and being grounded about it, is what I'm doing my best to say to you here. Is if you look at the situation very practically, look at the situation very logically, and even look at your emotional fears, look at your kind of like deeper fears that might be associated with it, then it's much easier to make those big decisions, especially to do with addictions. It can be sometimes with drugs, food. Alcohol I think is a good example, because a lot of people do it, a lot of people think it's okay, a lot of people think it's even good to do it, etc., etc. But now some people want to get out of that lifestyle, and it's not easy to jump out of it. So hopefully this kind of like more practical way of approaching it and understanding that, even this is the big one, guys, that I want to really convey to you. Even when we consciously with our minds know that this decision is good for us, there might be a lot of big things hidden there deeper that might be scaring us in letting go of these not so good things in our life. So this is the first part of this video, and the second part is a bit of a different kind of big decision. We have different kinds of decisions in our lives, and the first one was just an example of I would say maybe a tougher one. And the second one is kind of like a career one, work one, more common one, but there's still some common pitfalls that you can do and go into when making these decisions. Let's say you need to switch careers, or you need to switch either careers or need to switch jobs. So usually these are quite big changes. Some moving might be involved, some new added pressure, new added responsibilities, duties might be added in that decision. Now, this also means your time will be more limited. Taking on, even like starting a business, taking on a new client, whatever it is. These are kind of big decisions. And a lot of your time, attention is going to go towards that specific situation. Now, if you are alone in your life, you don't have family, you don't have children, you don't have a spouse, it's a little bit easier. There's usually less decision makers there in that situation. Maybe your family is still close and you want to stay near to them, or you want to give attention to them. I'm meaning your parents or something. But when you already have a spouse, when you already have kids and stuff like that, these decisions very, very intimately and acutely influence their lives as well, on a very, very everyday kind of mundane level as well. So they need to change their routines. They need to consider the fact that you made this decision. Now, why is this even important, you might be asking? Because we as humans don't always understand these things, that there will be less time from that person towards me, and they are not going to be able to be in my lives in the same way that they like always have been. And now what really often happens is that those changes don't get discussed in the family unit or in the relationship or in the unit. The communication isn't there with the big changes. And then, because everybody still in their minds is kind of they're very used to getting that attention. They're very used to getting that kind of time from that person. And now that it's not there, all kinds of sorts of like weird annoyances, problems within the relationship can happen, and even like resentment and those kinds of things towards that person. So one of the things I always recommend doing in these situations for my clients and people is open your mouth basically and start communicating. So sit down with your spouse, sit down with your kids, sit down with your parents, sit down with whoever it is, that is going to be affected by these decisions, and literally sit down with them and ask, hey, this is a really big opportunity for me, this is a really important thing for me to kind of go after, and I really want to go after it. I know this is going to affect how we interact with each other, how we kind of spend time. There's going to be less, but I still want to do it. Can we make arrangements in our daily lives? What can we do? Is there a compromise we can reach? Basically this is about, not making demands, but this is basically opening your mouth and being really open and honest about, like, this is what I want to do. Can we find ways of doing it? Can we make shifts and changes so we can both get what we want still and get our needs met? So it's not kind of swept under the rug, it's not kind of left to simmer somewhere so the resentment can take place, basically. So it's all out in the open, and both parties are kind of like considering each other. This is one of the things it actually, in this situation, in this example, it boils down to. Both people are being considerate of each other's needs. So really important, guys. Hope this video about making big decisions helps. Hope this kind of makes it more tangible, understandable what to do, why it's so hard to do them, why problems can happen, what to do about to kind of navigate them and not to even make them happen, basically. So sort of the freedom astrologer out for now, and I will see you in the next video.